Jonathan, great to see you.
Hey, likewise, Joe. Nice to see you too.
I appreciate you carving out some time for me. I know you've been super busy, sort of tracking some major trends
Yeah.
within the market. And one of the key trends I wanted to talk about today was sort of this, what I think is convergence, you tell me, but the convergence of network operations centers and security operations centers. Now, when I started covering the IT industry, those are like two distinct worlds. Do
Oh,
you
sure.
see them coming together? Any key trends there?
Yeah, we've been talking about NOC integration for what, 10 years now? And the
Mm,
two are not just organizationally separate and distinct. They're technologically as well. And culturally, the mindsets are very different. But the practical reality is that, everything about a digital enterprise today is about outcomes and experiences. And so what I'm seeing is the driver for optimized networking, security, and compute. And that really requires visibility and cross-platform, indeed cross-domain. And so the events you have to ensure that you understand what's happening on the network side, as well as what's happening on the security side in order to optimize across networking, security, and compute. The way that manifests in Fortinet right now is we just rolled out our FortiAI NOC, as well as FortiDeceptor and FortiMonitor. And so those
okay.
products really begin to give that NOC-SOC visibility so that you can understand what is happening on the networking side, as well as on the security side. You can understand that the network changes, how that's going to affect security, and ultimately even affect things like that digital end user experience, right? So, but the real advantage of NOC-SOC integration through the Fortinet security fabric is the ability to more quickly identify anomalous behavior to see whether that's something mechanical. Is it a routing card? Is it something on the networking side? Or is it really signs of a lateral movement or malicious activity from an adversary? And then to quickly go about enabling that mitigation side. So yeah, that's an absolute trend across the board. I think the other thing that's driving NOC-SOC and network and security integration is this realization that, networking moving forward is going to be SD-WAN. And SD-WAN
Mhm.
is inherently self-healing, highly application aware and adaptive. And likewise with security, that's now being enabled by AI. And, cloud is inherently elastic and scalable. Everything is on demand. So the challenge about all that is that as you go on demand, you've got to make sure that your network is adjusting as you adapt to changes in your cloud and your compute. And likewise, as you scale up, ramp down on your networking piece on SD-WAN, as you're moving from, say, 5G to 4G to broadband to MPLS, well, heck, you got to make sure that your security side is also synchronized with that. So one of the things from the service provider space is this, that when I got first started in MSS, and it's been 20 odd years now, we were talking about SLAs in the hours, right?
Right.
And then it went from hours to minutes. But now with that adoption of 5G networking architectures, you're getting to the point where SLAs are sub 5 milliseconds. And so it's really only a service provider and MSSP that can have that cross-platform visibility and control, and to use things like this integrated security fabric to ensure that you have optimized networking, security, and the compute. Because all three have to work together. And if they don't, all you have is sort of optimized bottlenecks, right? So I think that's a big fundamental change in the MSS world.
Got it. Okay. So let me ask you some more naive questions. It's sort of a two-parter, or maybe it's a statement and then a question. The statement is, I can understand how I think MSSPs would really understand NOC-SOC sort of integration. I think where there might be some confusion, and maybe this is based on my history in the industry, was the MSP side. A lot of those MSPs grew up more on the NOC side, and
Yeah,
maybe now they're building out a SOC. So
yeah.
here's the question. Do those NOC and SOC analysts, are they one group, one team now? Or are they sort of separate groups, but the software and the platforms are
Yeah,
integrated for better
yeah.
data sharing? How do you see it going?
So the success of any NOC integration is going to be based on the tools that facilitate the collaboration and visibility.
Mm,
So I think the volume, velocity, and the variety of data that's being generated today means that humans really aren't going to be at the forefront of doing tier one analysis, either NOC or SOC. I think AI is really going to do that. And so what you're going to eventually see is humans and SOC analysts evolving to points where what they're getting already triaged, already investigated, curated incident event data, right? So when we look at things like that Fortinet fabric with FortiSIM and FortiAI NOC, it provides that integrated tool set so that you could see both the networking side and the security piece. So that whether you're an MSP with a NOC background, you're going to have the automation and the enablement on the security side. And likewise, if you're on the MSSP side and you're not used to seeing network management and doing that, you're going to be enabled through that platform to do both services. Why? Because we're moving from hub and spoke router-based MPLS WAN architectures to SD-WAN to really secure SD-WAN, where networking and security are consolidated and integrated, not only from a form factor on that next generation firewall, like our FortiGate with the built-in SD-WAN, but as you integrate that, you've got to have the monitoring and management functions from one set, right? Otherwise, what I get really worried about is that without effective NOC, SOC, and security and network operations control and visibility, what happens on network edges, you have gaps in visibility and control. And wherever you have those gaps, misconfigured devices, well, 40% of just all data breaches and disruptions, are linked to a misconfigured device. That everyone sees that. You have vulnerabilities that go undetected and unmitigated. 99% of all vulnerabilities exploited were known for at least a year. And then you've got malicious behavior, anomalous behavior that goes undetected as well. So it's going to be key moving forward for whether you're an MSP or an MSSP or you're a telco or you're a carrier, that the platforms your people are going to use can span both domains and then provide that control and visibility backed by AI. So you have pretty good contextual awareness about, hey, that's TTP associated with a following threat vector. And this is what I need to do to mitigate that, right? And so absolutely, it's the right tool sets that enable the people to do their work. And the automation and the AI is what takes the mundane part, the drudge work. If you've ever been a sock monkey at about 2 in the morning, you know what I'm talking about. That part is going to go away.
Okay. Now, how far along are we on this integrated NOC SOC journey? Is this like a vision statement from you,
No.
or hey, your service providers are well along on the journey?
I think there are some service providers who are there today. We're beginning to see that. We see that reflected in the technology that Fortinet brings to the market. I mean, we were the first security vendor to really talk about networking and security in a converged manner. And everything we do, because we're a 100% channels-based company. So we are all about enabling our channel partners, whether they're MSPs or MSSPs or carriers or telcos, you name it, to take that technology and create new services. The number one thing that I've seen across the board in the last 15 months during this disruptions, that is the successful companies, they're all digital. There's no such thing as a brick and mortar company. Everyone is digitized today. But the ones who are really successful are the ones who create new ways for their stakeholders, their customers, partners, employees to interact with their brands. And that with every interaction, there's that expectation of being wowed. And so that requires optimized networking, SD-WAN, optimized security through the fabric and AI, and then integrated with your application performance, not only in a private cloud in your own legacy data center, but across multiple clouds. By the way, all that needs to be integrated and orchestrated and delivered with under a 5 millisecond SLA. Wow. That level of complexity is what we're facing moving forward. I just don't think as a practical reality, you're going to be able to have separate NOCs and separate SOCs.
Got it. Okay. Now, in that statement, you really indicated that this is more than a security conversation. Yes, security is super important, but you're also, this digitized world that we're in now. I think it's all about the customer experience and the user experience as well. Does integrated NOC SOC also get us closer to that?
Absolutely, because now you can monitor KPIs like latency and throughput and availability, correlating that against security event data, and then using that to monitor the customer and user experience, to understand the number of click-throughs, the number of completed transactions, the amount of time they spend interacting with your brand. Those are key metrics. And by the way, every CISO I've spoken with, and I speak with about 400, 500 different security teams every year, just like you. I mean, we're traveling through airports all the time, and they're all telling me I'm being measured against not only traditional security ITIL KPIs, mean time to detection, mean time to response, my vulnerability rate, things of that nature, but I'm also being measured about how do I enable security to contribute to revenue, productivity, agility, accelerated time to market, innovation, all that, plus how am I demonstrating an ROI on the end user experience? Because the last 15 months means that sort of contactless commerce model, that notion of remote working, that's never going back in the bottle. That genie's out there. And so whether you're 50 or 60 or 20, we all have millennial expectations right now. And we want to be able to interact with a brand, an organization at a time of our choosing, on a device of our choosing, on an application of our choosing. And that's being mirrored by what MSSPs are saying. They're being asked to deliver anything as a service, right? And so I think that's the reflection. Those are the sort of macro technology and market trends that MSSPs are facing. And quite frankly, you know, in my 20 odd years in the MSSP market space, I don't see anybody else who's talking about that. I don't see anybody else who's really truly enabling security and protection, converged network and security across LAN, WAN, data center, and cloud edge. I just don't. And yeah.
Got it. Okay, so if I'm a service provider that's listening to this, and maybe you know what, I gotta move more quickly on this NOC integration journey. Are there any, you know, A, best practices or first steps you would recommend, or B, maybe just go to the website and get some more information? How should partners get started?
Irrespective of whether you ultimately choose Fortinet or another vendor, the considerations that I think should be undertaken when you're thinking about a NOC integration is understand that the right tool sets that facilitate that cross-platform visibility, control, and collaboration are key. So you want to look at technology that enables you to look across networking, security, and the compute so that you can ensure the same look and feel and visibility control across those platforms. You want to look for a vendor that has a very broad ecosystem with lots of technology integration so that you don't have the burden of doing QA and third-party tech integration. That is a huge burden. And then finally, you want to look for a technology that allows you to consolidate, to reduce the number of appliances and form factors. It also allows you to reduce the burden and overhead of training and maintaining staff across all of that. And that is what you should think about in introducing a NOC consolidation. But most importantly, you need to have a technology that allows you to converge networking security. SD-WAN is foundational to enterprise IT moving forward because of cloud adoption. With SD-WAN and Zero Trust comes SASE, the requirement to secure those edges. Those types of security capabilities married with cross-platform visibility and control, that NOC integration, and you see that in our FortiAI NOC, you see that in our FortiSIEM product. Those are foundational to how you are going to be successful when you do that NOC integration.
Okay, and then for some more information, so they just visit your homepage. Where do they go on the web?
So I will shamelessly say, go look at Fortinet.com, the best cybersecurity company in the industry. That's my personal vote. You can also find me on LinkedIn at any time. I'm more than happy to point you to the right sources.
Fantastic. It was great to talk with you, Jonathan. Thanks for your time.
Likewise, Joe. Take care.